We're going to move right along now into an example of a business that had to expand and some of the challenges that they faced when doing that. We've spent this Emily episode talking a little bit about collateral security and guarantees and business valuations. And so here's an example of what I've typically seen with the kind of client that we tend to work with, which is a client who's looking to borrow less than $10 million. That tends to be what we focus on every day through emilynow.ca. And in this particular case, this business had opened up a location. They were now looking to open a second location based on the strength of the first location. But the ownership structure hadn't quite been figured out, so when they went to open their second location, they started a new company with some new owners, or rather some new shareholders, and a totally different ownership structure compared to the first location that they had had. The financing that they got for the first location was a little bit messy in terms of who provided the guarantees and what the collateral security was versus the second location, which again had different guarantees and different owners and different security. So the corporate structures were very, they needed to be sorted out, as it were. And now the business is looking to open its third location, and it's having to wrestle with the decisions it made in its first two locations. And really that happened because this business didn't plan for it. They didn't have a plan to expand. They didn't have a plan for how much cash they were going to need. And what I've noticed as finance guys or bankers or anyone who's never run a business is it's very easy to say, have a plan, make sure you know where you're going. But the very nature of being a business owner or being an entrepreneur certainly is being able to fly by the seat of your pants a little bit. I mean, many times business owners won't sit down and do a cash flow projection and have a business plan and do a target market study. They don't do all of those things before they make the decision to have the business. A lot of times business owners will intuitively say, I think this is going to work, now let me go to work and really make this happen. And then they pick the pieces up as they go. And so with this particular business that we're familiar with, that we've helped significantly, they didn't have a plan. And now that they're opening their third location, the business is now not so entrepreneurial. It now has some layers of management. It now has some best practices that it follows. And so opening its third location is really the moment in time when this business is saying, okay. Now let's take a look at our projections. Let's see how we can clean up our corporate structures. How can we really put this business to be in a position of strength so that as we open our fourth and fifth and sixth locations, that we don't have to be concerned that our house isn't in order. And so because of their lack of cohesiveness in their first two locations, they did have to borrow expensive financing. But as time goes on, we're going to be able to move them from private financing to a mid-market type solution all the way up back to a traditional bank, which will be happy to have their business at that time, but probably wouldn't today. Not because they couldn't qualify, but because there's just so much work to be done to clean up what they've done so far that a traditional bank will say, look, why don't you just come back to us when you've sorted all of this out? So if you're trying to grow your business and you find that some of the things I've just shared sound familiar to you, I would encourage you then to jump on emilynow.ca, put in a loan amount that you think your business needs or is looking for, and then as you go through the process, we've got an amazing customer service team that's going to be able to help you out and make sure that your request gets put together properly and that it gets over to the right bank who can ultimately approve you. And in the course of doing that, we're going to help you understand what needs to be cleaned up so that you can in fact get the best interest rates and terms that are available in the market. So if your business is expanding and you need cash, go to emilynow.ca and get started.